Hi everyone, I'm Kent Louie, science teacher and talking head, talking about science education and broadcasting from beautiful Vancouver, Canada. This is episode 106, and learning how to graph data and draw conclusions from that data are skills that I teach at the beginning of the school year with my grade 8s. I give them lots of practice, exercises that they do in class and for homework. Students learn what a bar graph is, what a line graph is, and when to use a bar graph and a line graph. They also learn about CER, that's claim, evidence, reasoning, to write their conclusion. But how do we assess students on these skills? Today, I'm sharing an exercise I give students to assess both their graphing and argument writing skills. This exercise, which is right here, takes about 45 minutes to complete and is done individually. But before I continue, again, these handouts are available at realsciencechallenge.com/EP106, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. What I like about this exercise is that both graphing and argument writing are connected to the same data. And this is kind of what we want students to do in labs going forward, right? We give them some data, or they take data, they graph it, and then they draw some conclusion from that. Okay, and that's what this exercise is all about. It's got two parts. Part one, I give students some data, some monthly temperature data, and I ask them to choose the correct type of graph, either a line graph or bar graph, to represent that data, and they should graph it here. I also expect students to label the axis correctly, to maximize the graph space, give a title, all the things that make for a good graph, all right? From a marks perspective, I use a 4-level proficiency scale. Now, in this case, there's no opportunity for extending. That's for a future assignment I give, and that's okay, because in this exercise, I just want students to get the basics. All right. This is an example of what a proficient graph would look like. You see? Clearly labeled, X and Y axis. All right. They got a title, and they even got the correct type of graph, a line graph. All right. This is proficient. An example of a developing graph might have all the same trademarks, clearly labeled axis, but perhaps they used a bar graph instead of a line graph. And knowing what type of graph to use is important, because it shows that we know what type of data we're working with, right? Whether it's categorical data, in which case we use bar graphs, or continuous data, in which case we use line graphs. All right. On the back of this exercise is part 2, which I use to assess argument writing skills using the CER template. I ask students, using this data, which one of the cities on the back correspond to that data, all right? A, B, C, or D, or E, and the cities are listed here. For their response, they need to provide a claim, which is a direct answer to the question, evidence, which is basically a summary of the parts of the data that support their claim, and reasoning, which would be an explanation as to why the city they chose matches the data on the back. All right? From a marks perspective, again, I'm using a 4-level proficiency scale. And like last time, in this case, there's no opportunity for extending, because again, I just want students to get the basics of writing a CER statement. And a proficient would have all 3 parts. They would have a correct claim, they would have evidence, and they would have detailed reasoning. An example is provided here on this student work. The same student who did this great graph also wrote this response. I'm going to include this in the handout so you can kind of see what a proficient response would look like. All right? Check out this activity online and try it with your students. All right? That's it for this episode. Please smash the like or subscribe button below, or leave a comment. Handouts, once again, are realsciencechallenge.com/EP106. Thanks for watching. Let's talk science education again soon.